Hi everyone, so this is your workshop demo. I'm going to do a quick run through of an example workshop that I've already created and then go on to how to create your own. So to get to the workshops in the first place, you'll enter onto this home screen of Citizen Lab. Then you go to your main menu at the top right hand corner once you're logged in, manage your platform, and then on the left hand side you've got the workshops option there. Now on this page you'll have a link here which says read our introductory guide, which is a really useful link on how to actually get set up and think about the planning of your workshop. So actually what that one is useful for is just taking a step back and thinking about what you're going to be using your workshop for, what you could use it for, and also a couple of examples of some template setups there as well. And then this next link, learn how to create your own workshop, is a real easy step-by-step create your own workshop, which is fairly straightforward, but obviously this video will go nicely with that to give you a real life example too. Now, if you click to manage your workshops here, you'll be able to see this screen. And for most of you, it will probably be blank if you've not already created one. But obviously myself as the Healthwatch England view, I'm able to have a look at all of the different ones that are available, which obviously that means that you can also get me to kind of have a look at that setup, which I would definitely recommend doing. But to add a new one, I'd go to add workshop, but what I'm going to do first is just show you one that I've set up earlier, which is the workshop demo. So I am a admin for this particular one. So you'll be able to see here that I can govern it. So you'll see that up the top here, I'm the admin. If I select manage, I'll be able to see all of the different steps for my workshop that I have planned. So I've got all participants and 2 different rooms. So we'll come into that in a bit more detail during the setup. But what I've done here is do it so that all these top ones are going to involve, everyone's going to be involved in all of these steps. But when it comes to room 1 and room 2, they're my breakout rooms. So I'm going to split my participants into 2 sets, and they're going to be doing the summary discussion, the poll and the Q&A separately, depending on which room that they're going to be in. The reason for splitting people up is recommended that you have about 5 to 8 people for a room, and that just means that you allow for actual discussions to happen. So if you could have a room of 30 people, when you've got a limited time frame, you're probably not going to be able to hear from everybody. And obviously the purpose of the workshop is to get that data from everybody, for everyone to have that chance to feedback. And this is kind of a way to facilitate doing that. And in all these different steps, you'll be able to collate data, so in different ways, which I'll go through in a bit more detail in a bit. But you'll be able to obviously export that by the top here, which is really handy. So I'm going to just take you through what I've set up. So as I said before, this one here is the for everybody. So this one is basically just going to have information. Also, obviously, I've got the option if I want to share my screen, which is really handy. If I go to the bottom left-hand corner here, I can share my screen with everybody. And then if I want to raise my hand as a participant, then I can do so. What I've done here is I've set it for a full screen, but I can exit as a full screen too. And doing that, you're allowing here to have some information if you want to. So obviously, depending on if you've got a full screen PowerPoint, you might want to take up the whole screen. But actually, if you're talking and you just want to provide some information on the right hand side for your participants to kind of just be aware of and maybe run through, but being able to, you know, have your face at the same time, that's quite a useful way of doing that. As you can see here, all participants are in this room, and you've got the number here. So obviously it's just myself, so I've got 1, but you'll be able to see if everyone has come into the room. Now you'll see here at the top, you'll be able to highlight to people the journey that you're taking them on throughout this workshop. And I've just put first task, second task, third task. But obviously, if you want to have a bit more details so people are aware of what they're doing in each bit, just by looking at the top bit, you can do so. For example, a poll or a Q&A, so they know what's coming next. To move between these, you have to go to next step, which is this green button here. If you click that, you've got the option to indicate to participants when they're going to be taken to that next step. So particularly if you're in different rooms, it's useful to give them that timer so that they're aware that they can either wrap up their discussion or finish quickly what they're writing. So you can indicate that within 10 seconds, 1 minute, or 5 minutes. Of course, if you're kind of doing an introductory session, so I've kind of finished speaking, I don't really want to sit there in silence for 10 minutes. 10 minutes, 10 seconds, and I can just press now and we can go along to the next stage. So I'm now in the first task. So what I've done here is I've created the option for people to go into breakout rooms. Now what you're seeing is obviously from an admin position, so you'll be able to distribute people to their break rooms because that's what you've decided to do. There is the option to have either random allocation to break rooms, or you can actually do self-select as well, so people can actually choose which break room they're going into. Naturally, you will want to kind of govern that a little bit where you can, so that they're not, you've not got like 15 people in one room and 2 people in another. So you will want to make sure that you kind of keep an eye on numbers and encourage people to distribute themselves fairly if that's what you're going to do. Otherwise, you can do random selection. So if I were to do that, I would literally click this button, and then obviously from this screen, people would be going into their different rooms. If I then want to go into that room, I'm going to go to room 1, join. And I'm able to now take part in that discussion as room 1. So room 1 at the moment, they're in the Q&A phase. So they've actually got a few questions here to answer. So actually what this is encouraging them to do is write down their answers. So bearing in mind that we want to obviously analyse the data afterwards, getting them to write down as much as possible takes, you know, the time away from us in terms of having to write up, then analyse. So what we're trying to encourage is actually finding out some information, and that's the way that we're doing it. So at the moment, I've got just some questions for participants, and as the admin, I'm able to actually press and move people along from different questions. So in the information that I've given them at the top, I said very clearly that they've got 10 seconds to respond to each one. It's not a lot of time, obviously it's for the purpose of this workshop. And now I'm going to press next. And that moves everybody on to the next question. And not only does that work for this room 1, it also applies to room 2 as well. So just kind of making sure that you've really stated clearly, if you've not got the capacity to have a facilitator in each room, that's what you're going to be doing. You're going to be moving the questions along 10 seconds at a time. Obviously you would probably allow more time than that, but just making sure that's really clear at the start. So I'm now going to come back to my room. So as an admin, I'm able to switch rooms. So I'm able to go into all participant room, or room 1 or room 2. I'm going to go back to the all participant. It might be that I've asked people to leave their rooms by a certain time, or I've indicated to them that there's a second task coming up. In this case, obviously it's second task. So once we've gone through all of the questions, I'm then probably going to give them a 10-second countdown so that they're very aware that the time's up, that it's coming up. You're going to be moved on to the next stage of the workshop in 3, 2, 1, wash. So we're in different rooms. We're actually, if I go here again, I have the option to switch rooms, so room 1 and room 2. But in this one, what I facilitated here is a poll. So a really quick way to get information from people and also kind of instill some interaction. So remembering that you can talk to people throughout this whole thing as well. You know, you don't just have to just go by your tasks that you've set them. You want to probably stimulate some conversation, have some back and forth going on between whoever's in the room. But obviously these methods are to gain data and insight, but also to actually make it a bit more interactive as well for people rather than just talking. You do have the chat function at the top right hand side, so do make your participants aware that that's there. So anyone can obviously interact with the chat function. So if I were to, for example, write hello, and it's just very simple, my name's obviously against it, so I can see who's decided to take part in my chat, which is really great because you can make it a bit more personal when you're responding to people. You can say, oh, hello, Laura, thank you for your comment. This is what I mean by this. Thanks for asking the question. So that's quite useful. And then obviously you can veer people over to the poll when you're ready to do that as well. Obviously, again, depends on capacity. If you've got a facilitator in the room, that's what I would always advocate, because obviously you're able to move the conversation on if you want to, or you can just kind of let it happen organically. It's completely up to you, really, how you want to do it. Obviously, you give people a set amount of time, and it's what they do with that time that's most useful. And then obviously all of this data you can export at the end. So to start poll, I'm going to start poll here, and you'll be able to see that I've got 1 out of 1 participant still need to submit their votes. So it's really useful because actually, you know, I can be like, still waiting on you, someone's not out there. Obviously, if people have walked away from their screen, just move it on. It's really awkward, but at least you can see roughly that all your participants have participated in your poll. I'm going to end your poll. If I want to reset my results, I can, so that will lose all the data. But if it's not really worked, or you want to run it again for whatever reason, you can reset the results there. Okay, just acknowledging that it will delete the data that you've already collected, and you can start that poll again should you want to. I'm going to move everyone on to the next room then. So this one here is a summary of discussion. So this is really useful if you've got particular groups of people and you're trying to bring it together right at the very end, but in a way, maybe, I don't even know, you might want to do it as a facilitator, you might want to encourage your participants to do it for you, but it has a really great summary of the questions that you've asked during the day. And obviously the answers that would have been underneath that, and basically what you're asking people to do is to just quickly summarize based on everyone's discussion points that they've already had, and all those different points. So that's really useful, important data. And then moving everyone on. And now the last stage of the discussion room. So I'm actually just bringing everyone together just to kind of have a bit of a debrief, report back what we found, get people to report on their discussion summary so that everyone's open to it, which if you want to do that, that's a good way to do it. And in terms of bringing the discussion together and bringing useful insight and, you know, kind of at this stage, I guess, trade views and have even more discussion between the different rooms if possible. Completely up to you how you do it. That's just a way to run it, really. So that's just to give you a bit of an example of a run through of practicality, the practical side of doing it. Even I'm sure there's plenty of other aspects to this demo that I haven't covered, but obviously I'm aiming to just do the very basics at this stage. This 3-dot action here, you can see that there's other things, so such as you can share a YouTube video, which I know is a really useful way to interact with people. Maybe you want their opinion on something from a video, maybe you just want to use it as a different way to introduce a topic of discussion, completely up to you. But again, just a useful feature that I thought might be worth sharing with you. So I'm going to actually stop there because I've realised that the video is quite long, and you might just want to digest this one, and then I'll do another video to come on to the functionality another time. So thank you very much.